Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining live in the Xfinity studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer with a fresh haircut, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
Not too much. I really needed a haircut. Hair was getting way too long. Unmanageable even.
As many have been saying that you've looked unkempt and, quite frankly, unprofessional. So, yeah, that's what they say about you on this show. Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff to get into today. You wrote a great article with all of the comparables for a Trevor Zegras contract extension, all that stuff I want to get into because it is an interesting conversation of, like, I saw a comment, like, of course you extend Zegras. He's your best player. Well, yeah. But
right now, I would say so.
It's a matter of when.
Yeah.
Like, the Flyers probably, even given the limited sample size, and there's still things I want to see, like him get through a season healthy. It's like, well, it might be worth the gamble because you might save yourself. But if I'm Trevor Zegras, yeah, I'm under team control. I'm not, like, in a hurry, you know, because the further I distance myself from the last 2 years in Anaheim, the better everything looks.
But by the same token, if he gets hurt,
so suddenly he's yeah.
And like, we'll get into this later.
Yeah, so we'll get into all that stuff. But first, I want to go back a little bit to yesterday's conversation, Charlie, because I think we handled the whole Michkov Couturier thing pretty well, and that brings us to the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. Yesterday, basically the entire show was the big deal because this Michkov Couturier thing blew up into a much bigger deal than any
deal
of us,
on social media.
A much bigger deal than I realized it was before like my little weekend away from social media came to an end. I think we handled it fairly well, and we got a bunch of comments during the show, like not even necessarily from people who agreed with everything we had to say, but just I think we handled the entire thing as well as we could, just in terms of I don't think calling it nothing and dismissing everything entirely is productive, especially when we're talking about fans' point of view. Like, getting into the why of this point of view was maybe more important than just being like, Couturier said this, and it means this. Like, I don't know, anyone can hear anything and make it sound like what they want it to.
I think you have to do both. I think you have to, number one, evaluate the controversy on its merits, and I think we both agree that while there are some aspects of this Michkov situation that are worthy of discussion, that this was an overreaction, there's that, but then you also have to take a look at, like, okay, why did people get so angry about this, and try to understand sort of where they're coming from as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I still got a comment today that was like, well, because they ran Cutter out of town. Like, did they though, or did he just not want to be here? Because we have no proof of.
I was gonna say, like, where's your evidence? I don't think anybody has stone cold evidence as to, like, why he did not want to play. There's theories, sure.
There's one guy who could give us that, and he doesn't exist. But yeah, that's the people giving us these responses. Like, we didn't just say Flyers Twitter is a cesspool. While you and I both have our opinions about Twitter as a whole and the level of discourse in general that goes on there. Like, I don't think that's productive, especially given this situation. Flyers fans have reason to be upset over the last however many years. And if it's something that I found kind of ridiculous, like this story over the weekend, there's still merit to it because people are just kind of mad at a team that's given them a lot of reasons to be mad for the last decade or so.
It was and I said this on yesterday's show, and I'll reiterate it. It was a reminder that there are still a lot of very, very angry fans.
Yeah.
And as I said, I certainly haven't removed myself entirely from the platform, but I pull back a lot. I don't interact with people as much on Twitter as I used to when it was like a huge part of my job. Now I see it more as a platform to just, get my articles out there, comment on games. It's more professional rather than social. Like, there was a time when Twitter was a big part of my social life. Not so much anymore. I'm just not on there as much. So by pulling back a little bit, I was able to maybe insulate myself a bit more than I may have been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago from just how ticked off the people on that platform are. And this weekend was a reminder that a lot of people on that platform are still pretty darn ticked off about the Flyers.
I think the thing I want to turn into the big deal today is a response not to that show, but a tweet we got from WEIV is the username, replying to Saturday's post-game show.
Okay.
And it's the reply is very, very interesting to me. It is simply, this was a horrible loss. The fact that Ottawa has the worst penalty kill and owns the Flyers' power play is pathetic, and the ending in overtime is completely unacceptable. I'll tell you, I love that opinion.
Okay.
Not because I even agree with almost any of it.
Okay.
It is because while there are fans who are just mad because, the team's given us plenty of reasons, or they didn't do a full teardown rebuild, or they already bought a Cutter jersey, or for whatever the hell the reason is that they're mad, this person, it seems to me, is a very, very passionate fan. And if you're mad about a Saturday afternoon, Tuesday loss in which they kind of owned the Senators in the second half of the game, but, it just kind of went the way it went, hell yeah. Yes, they're back, baby. They are back. Flyers fans, and we always talk about Eagles brain, and maybe this Coots Michkov thing was a little Jalen AJ where, yeah, there's something up, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like that big a deal, and people just blow it out of proportion. That's awesome. It means that the Flyers are re-finding relevance, and it's real nice for me, Charlie, because sometimes I just feel what am I doing? Am I doing a show for 1,000 people? Is that it? And listen, very much appreciate if there are just
more than 1,000.
No, even if there were just 1,000 people tuning in, there's more than that between YouTube and the podcast, social, all that.
Significantly more.
But just awesome, thanks. But this is proof that when there is even the slightest hint of relevance, they've had an okay start to the season. They haven't sucked, and people are mad about that. Oh, that's dope.
No, what it implies, and we're not there yet, obviously.
No.
But it implies that there are emerging expectations. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was just lose as many games as possible because, we need draft picks and whatever. And this team's going nowhere. It's run by a general manager who doesn't know what he's doing. They have nothing going in the pipeline, nothing particularly exciting. Now, that tweet is someone who is basically being nah, this team is better than what they showed on Saturday, and it's unacceptable. If something's unacceptable, that implies that there were actual expectations.
Yes, exactly.
And that's good.
That's great.
That's good.
Yeah.
We want expectations because that means people are caring about the team and are invested in their success again, rather than just being just have 3 bad years and get a bunch of top number 1 overall picks, and then I'll pay attention again. Does seem like more people are paying attention than they were.
No, and we talked about that yesterday when we're getting DMs and texts from people who might not necessarily be plugged into the Flyers ecosystem who want to know what the hell's going on. Oh, okay, so this has reached past, as we affectionately call them, the sickos,
The sickos.
You watching this show, chances are you've been with us for 5-10 years, and you've dealt with this team's nonsense this whole time. But if all of a sudden you're plugged in because, something's going on with Michkov and Couturier, that means it's starting to break through, and that means they're closer to relevance than they were.
And that is one thing I want to say before you switch over. This weekend controversy, it was odd, annoying, overblown. You can use a lot of words, at least from the perspective of a media person. However, I acknowledge that these types of controversies are what get people more into a team. It is one of the reasons why the NFL is so big. Obviously, it's partially because football is such a huge sport, but it's because there's constant controversy. There's constantly things to talk about.
Sport.
Hockey can be boring, not in terms of the on-ice play, but in terms of hey, these guys just kind of go home and, don't really do anything interesting. This was interesting. This was juicy.
Yeah.
And even if it was invented, sometimes you need some juiciness to get people, engaged with the product.
You can't there has to be something on the plate other than vegetables sometimes. All right, so that is the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. Just perhaps the Flyers are becoming a big deal yet again. Because that was something Kevin Kurz talked about. He was on Marek.
Oh yeah, I
day.
didn't listen, but I heard he was on.
He was on Marek, and it was like to talk about the Michkov Couturier stuff, but it was like also the anniversary of Pelle Lindbergh passing away.
Right.
Mel Bridgman had just passed away. We didn't really acknowledge that on the show. Obviously, condolences to the Bridgman family, but like kind of talking about all that. And he's like, listen, in Philly today, it's Eagles 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's just the way it is. But in the 80s, like when Pelle Lindbergh, like the Flyers may have been the number one team in the city. Like still, it's not that far
I wasn't
removed.
alive for it,
No,
but yeah.
I don't know, but he said it, so I'm gonna believe it's true. And listen, that's it used to be a lot bigger deal when Snyder's in his heyday, the Spectrum's in its heyday. The Cups aren't that far in there.
They're only 10 years removed.
It's 40 freaking years ago.
Yeah.
It's not a big joke that like they haven't won in 50 years and like they've just lost 2. It's not like they haven't been in 15 years like we're now talking about.
Yeah.
It was a bigger deal. So maybe we are working towards that once again.
Sometimes you need a little irrational craziness just to keep people interested in the whole thing.
Absolutely. All right. Now, Charlie, to get back to Michkov and Couturier, not the off-ice quote-unquote controversy. Those were air quotes. When I wrote them on a tweet the other day, those are just quotation marks. These are air quotes. Anyway, something on Twitter.
Okay.
Michkov and Couturier on the ice, paired up today with Trevor Zegras.
Interesting.
It is interesting. Now, Coots in his like post-practice scrum just kind of seemed like, we weren't really running lines, but the three of us were out there quite a bit. Do you think this could be something they're going to try?
Yeah, Couturier threw some cold water on it today after practice. Like, well, we ran a bunch of lines, and it was mostly just a jersey thing because they all had the same jersey color. That said, the other lines look pretty believable. And also, we'll get into this a little bit later, it does seem like Tyson Foerster is nearing a return. And if he is nearing a return and they're going to put together the Cates, Foerster, Brink line,
then the other lines need fixing.
the other lines need to be adjusted to account for that. And this is a plausible adjustment. It is. And it's an intriguing one because I think this is a combination, particularly obviously Zegras, Michkov, but even Couturier in the middle. It's a trio that I think people have wanted to see for a bit.
We have been trying to figure out, like, obviously from the jump, Rick Tocchet has been like, I don't know, those two together at 5-on-5, I don't love the idea. But with Couturier, with, essentially dad in the middle, like, it might be a little bit more palatable for the coach to be like, at least somebody will be handling the defensive. Someone's going to be thinking, I need to get back. Yeah, and not that we've seen, there was the mix-up on the overtime goal. I think maybe for the first time, we've been like, all right, all the offensive stuff from Zegras has been great. Maybe let's zero in on some of the other things because there are things that haven't been perfect. He's been better, as you pointed out in your article. Like, a lot of the defensive metrics are better than they've ever been.
Oh, yeah. He's not getting killed defensively by the numbers like he has been.
There have been mistakes along the way, as they're going to be, especially with an offensive-minded guy who's 24, 25 years old. Let's kind of look at those. I think it's gone better than expected, but you put those two, who maybe you still don't fully trust, with Sean Couturier, and suddenly we're finally maybe going to get an extended look with them together. We saw a little bit of it with Dvorak, but as much as everyone's like down on Coots, Dvorak just doesn't excite or interest many people.
Yeah.
He's been a nice addition. He's been a good player for this team, but it's like, he's, I just want to see these
And
two.
like Couturier isn't what he was 6-7 years ago, but he did have a point where he was a near point per game guy. Dvorak has never had. So like, at least with Couturier, there's the plausible, like, hey, maybe if you put him with Michkov and Zegras, he could do what he did with Giroux because maybe you can replicate that in a little bit. Whereas with Dvorak, like, there's no hope. There's no hope that Dvorak is going to be a point per game guy.
The ceiling here is still like 45 points with Dvorak. With Coots, it's
useful
like
player, but
if Michkov and Zegras are both operating at like 100%, and we're seeing Michkov get there, Zegras obviously has been impressive to start the year. It's like, well, maybe the ceiling on Coots is a little higher than we thought. Like, what if it's a 60-point ceiling? Maybe it's not 76 like it was in those back-to-back seasons. What if it's a 60-point ceiling? Well, that could really be something.
Yeah, wouldn't be bad.
Like, that could really be something in between those two guys. I would love to see it, and it seems as if we may. If Foerster is back, it's a possibility, and I know we talked about the weekend, but Rick Tocchet today was like, he could.
Yeah, it seemed well. So talking about Tyson Foerster, he practiced in full today. I expected him to be on the ice with the team because he had skated this weekend. We were able to see him skating, obviously with clothes on, but without pads on. And he was just skating around with Tommy Alva, the trainer. So you're like, okay, he's getting closer. He's making progress. I expected to see him with the team today. I did not expect to see him without a non-contact jersey. He was just normal practice. So it really does seem like, because what I've gathered, this is not based on reporting, this is just based on like general common sense. And also I believe Anthony Sanfilippo reported this around the time of the injury, that when they finally were able to do a scan of the injury, there were no broken bones. So it looks like this is entirely a pain thing. Like, he got a really bad bruise because it was a painful shot block and his foot was all swelled up. And it seems like this is now more about like pain management than anything else. And Tocchet said after practice today, he's like, well, we're going to talk as a group tonight, and it's going to depend on how Foerster's feeling, what he wants to do. And it's like, look, if you ask almost any NHL player, like, you put the decision in their hands, they're going to play because they're hockey players. So if Tocchet is saying like, well, it's going to be up to Tyson, I'm pretty sure I know what Tyson's going to say.
He was like, it's kind of up to him.
Yeah.
But also, like, we're not going to be dumb.
Right.
And the fact that they have, like, Wednesday and then was it Friday, Saturday back-to-back this week?
St. Louis and Dallas, Friday, Saturday.
Maybe they don't want him in all three, so maybe they hold him back. Maybe he doesn't play Friday. Like, maybe there's a mix and match that goes on, or maybe they just wait till the weekend like we initially thought they were going to. But regardless, it does appear as if his return is imminent, and they've definitely missed him. They haven't been bad without him, but he has maybe been their most consistent two-way player all season in terms of offensive production and just being that guy that the coach trusts to put out there, and having that line that you can go back to like as that steadying force. Like, all right, we've kind of just spent 3 shifts in our own zone, or we just killed a bunch of penalties. Maybe we came away with an unfruitful power play. Like, how can we kind of get things back on track? Foerster, Kate's Brink. And then they're able to steady the ship a little. Having that, I think, will certainly help them.
Exactly. I think that's been the big thing and I think Foerster is a huge part of that line. Maybe 3 years down the road, we're going to look back and be like, oh, so he was the Kucherov of that line. He was the really good player with 2 other guys who are good, but he was the guy. I think it's very possible he's the guy who, in retrospect, we're like, oh, yeah, Foerster, he's the guy who's scoring 75 points a year. Right, he was the really good player. But going back and looking at the games that he missed, like, okay, the Sunday game against Calgary was a disaster, okay? And that was a perfect example of, like, that was a game where they needed a Kate's line shift to jolt them, and they never got it because Foerster wasn't playing, and they get creamed. I know the score was close, but it was an embarrassing game to watch given the quality of opponent. Montreal, okay, they play well without him. They create offense, whatever. The Nashville game, they win, but they didn't really look good doing it.
No.
And then on Saturday, obviously they lose in overtime to Ottawa, but like that entire first period was screaming for a Noah Cates, Tyson Foerster, Bobby Brink shift. Finally, they get the jolt because Matvei Michkov turns on, like, he becomes a cheat code and does it all himself. And then it's like, oh, okay, now we're going to dominate this team.
Yeah.
But it took like 30 minutes to get that shift. I don't think it would have taken 30 minutes to get a good grinded out shift from Noah Cates, Tyson Foerster, and Bobby Brink. But instead, they had to wait for Michkov to go into God mode to get it because they didn't have that line.
All right, on the other side, now that we have all the newsy stuff out of the way, it's Trevor Zegras time. But first, I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You know all about the 90 million users worldwide, almost 800,000 live stream events each year. And listen, they are one of the pioneers of live in-game betting, over 78 different sports that you can get action on while the game is happening. But right now, it's all about that early payout offer. Because with the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner. If your team gains a 3-goal lead, you get an instant payout on straight bets, and your parlay selections are marked as winners. It's that easy. And we have breaking news from our friends at Bet365. New customers now get $300 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, Use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $300 in bonus bets whether your initial bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And now I got to tell you about Factor, because fall always feels like a reset. There's back to school. A bunch of the winter sports get started up. It's, the clock turns back. All these things. It just kind of feels like, I've called it New Year's Light. And that's why I love Factor, because their chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals make it so easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets, days getting shorter. It's harder to find the time, and that's where Factor comes in. With Factor, you get more variety and more meals. You can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. And you can savor global flavors for the first time. Try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and so much more. And from more choices to better nutrition, 97% of customers say that Factor has helped them live a healthier life. So feel the difference no matter your routine. I am enjoying Factor. We just got a new shipment. It has been awesome. Eat smart at factormeals.com/PHLY50 off and use code PHLY50 off to get 50% off your first box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code PHLY50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box and free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. All right, Chuck, it's time to talk Trevor Zegras, because he has been a revelation since coming to the Flyers.
I think it's fair to say that, with maybe the exception of Dan Vladar, he has been the Flyers' best player so far this season.
Yeah, I would say that is absolutely fair. Vladar had the 2 down games, but you can make the case that he won them the other 7 of his 9 starts.
He's been really
or
good.
At least didn't win, but he was the best player in the 7 of the other 9 starts that he has made. He has been really good. Danny Briere's offseason was tremendous. And
looking very good right now.
Part of that offseason was signing guys to some pretty good contracts in retrospect. But now it's time to look ahead to a contract because, Trevor Zegras is off to a great start. And while he's not, he can't be a free agent until the summer of 2028, an unrestricted free agent. He is only under contract for 1 more year, for this year.
Right.
He is an RFA after this season. And just looking at the way this could go, might benefit the Flyers to get this done early, Charlie. And taking a look at your article, available on allphly.com. If you're not a diehard, the hell you doing? Become one. Read Charlie's great stuff.
That's true.
There's a lot of very interesting. I like how you laid out the archetypes. All right, man, Tage Thompson's a huge center that scores goals. That doesn't really exist, so he's different.
Yeah.
And Tom Wilson, he'll score you 20 and also beat up everybody.
Yeah.
So he's different. But for the most part, it comes down to guys' raw production.
Yeah.
You look at the numbers and go, you slot in here. Mm-hmm. And depending on how this year goes and Zegras' health, there's a little bit of a range in which he may fall in terms of contract comparables.
Yeah, and I think, this was something where originally when the chatter started, I was kind of like, this seems premature. But then it just seems like it's building and building and building to the point where this might be a thing. Elliot Friedman he put it in his 32 thoughts.
Once Elliot says it, someone's
he
talking
thinks
about
they're
it.
talking, and then he's been saying on podcasts, I'm pretty sure they're having conversations. And the more I dove into the numbers, the more I can see why. Because really what it boils down to, and I made this point in the article, and basically what I say is that, look, there's really 2 things I look at when I'm trying to project guys in their mid-20s as to what kind of contract they're going to get. Number 1, it's career numbers. Number 2, it's recent numbers. And I tend to look at last 3 seasons and how they performed in the 3 seasons leading up to when they signed their contract. Now, Trevor Zegras' career number is pretty good. His last 3 seasons, not that great. And by last 3 seasons, I'm counting this one.
So the 2 disaster years in Anaheim, and now this 15 games where he has been the Flyers' best forward.
So, in theory, if you were to sign him now, the Flyers could make the case of like, well, if we're looking at your recent play, really over the last 3 seasons, if we're including this one, hasn't been all that great. So we're taking a risk here because we are banking on these 15 games being more representative of your play than the previous 2 seasons, of your overall quality, of let's say your true talent level. 15 games, it's much easier for the Flyers to be like, well, you should take about 7.5 mil AAV. Now, if he does it for 54 games where he's producing at a point per game level, it's a lot harder to make that argument in a negotiation because at this point, the Flyers are taking a big risk because it's like, okay, well, the larger sample is the last 2 seasons when he wasn't that good. If you wait until 54 games or if you wait until the end of the season, suddenly the largest sample or a much larger piece of the pie is him playing at a really, really high level. And that's why if you're the Flyers and you think he's going to keep playing at this level, it might behoove you to try to start conversations now when you can still point to the last 2 seasons. Because if it gets to April and he's played 82 games and he finishes with, 87, 88, 90 points, that's what he's going to want to get paid like. He's going to want to get paid like a 90-point player. Right now, you have the ability to be like, yeah, you're playing well now, but like, look at what you did the last 2 years. You can't ask for that much.
And that's if we get into the winter, if we get into even April, all of a sudden, yeah, man, there's 31 games he played in 2023-24. It's like, who cares? Why are you bringing that up?
Right,
That's
right.
old stuff. That is not representative. And while maybe he's going to score at the rate like you say in the piece, maybe he just goes back to being a 60, 65 point guy like he was his first 2 years. But he did already bank these points, so that'll still put him at 70, 75 points.
Yep.
Maybe he does revert, but also there's the very real possibility. We're talking about a line with him, Couturier, and Michkov. What happens when he's playing with Michkov and Michkov wakes up?
Yeah.
And suddenly at 5-on-5, you pointed it out, okay, he's not banking a ton of secondary assists at 5-on-5. Everything looks pretty sustainable. On the power play, there's a bunch of secondaries, but we learned from Claude Giroux, that's what happens when you have the puck the whole time.
Right.
What happens when he's picking up a bunch of secondary assists because Matvei Michkov's doing Michkov stuff, and halfway through the year, it's, oh, yeah, he's going to put in 90 points. All of a sudden, you lose a lot of leverage as the Flyers.
Yeah.
You can't just look at, but in 2023, it's like, well, who cares?
Yeah.
that doesn't matter anymore.
No, right now, if I'm pointing to a comparable, what I would say is probably his best comparable right now on a lot of levels is probably right now, if he were to sign a contract today, it's probably Gabe Vilardi with Winnipeg. Because we're talking about a guy, and Gabe Vilardi signed a 6-year deal this offseason worth 7.5 mil AAV. It's a good comparable because, number one, their stats are pretty similar. Number two, they both kind of play a similar position where Vilardi is one of those center wing hybrids. He mostly plays the wing with Winnipeg now, but he was developed as a center. And there's this idea, he might be a center at some point. He could be a center. Also, Vilardi, like Zegras, has some injury history. Vilardi's got those concussions. He's had back problems. I believe it's back problems with Vilardi that was the big issue. So that deflates his value a little bit the same way that Zegras' value gets deflated a little bit because, hey, he's dealt with some injuries. Hasn't played as many games as a lot of 24-year-olds at this stage of the development, if you're talking about comparisons. Yeah. So right now, Vilardi seems to me to be a logical comparison. If you wait until the end of January, though, or if you wait until the end of the season, then suddenly it's I don't know, guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, Jordan Kyrou, these are guys that were, adjusting for cap inflation, put him in the 9+ mil range. So if you think you can get him signed to a Gabe Vilardi-esque deal now, rather than wait and risk the possibility of having to give him 9 or 10 at the end of the year, maybe this is the time to talk to him.
That's based on what the cap is going to be. If it was 8 times 8, 8 times 8.5, I know it's still a risk, but if I'm Danny, I'm done. I understand. And even me, I want Trevor Zegras, and I've been really impressed. I want him to be a part of this team's core going forward. Maybe he becomes a center. Maybe he's just a, dynamic winger, whatever. I want him. But there's also, I need to see him stay healthy. Like, that's kind of the test now.
Fair.
I think the level of player he is about what he is. Like, yeah, I don't expect a huge drop. I'm sure he's not going to be on like a point streak the whole season. That's probably not realistic. But I bet you what we've seen is pretty close to what he's going to be just in terms of production. My fear is simply injuries because he has only played 88 games over the previous 2 seasons.
That's fair.
He's missed half the games. Like, I do want to keep him, and I think 8.5 is more than fair given the cap and his level of production. But if he's only going to play 50 games a year, that's not really all that helpful to me.
Yeah, it's fair. And this is where the risk comes into play.
Yeah.
Because you might be saying, like, well, why would Trevor Zegras sign a contract now? That doesn't make any sense. He's playing so well. Why not bet on yourself and wait till the end of the year?
Why would Jack Hughes sign away his whole prime? Because these guys like security.
But my point is that the real reason why he would consider signing is because of just what you said. Hey, I've dealt with injuries in the past. If I were to tomorrow, separate my shoulder and be out 3 months, then suddenly I ain't getting 7.5 on my next contract. I'm probably getting 6.
Yeah, no, he's that would result in probably not seeing a ton of a raise. He's at like 5.6 now.
I think.
5.75. Like, yeah, you adjust for cap inflation and kind of just kick the can.
Yeah,
that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Instead of, maybe I am leaving $1.5 million, $2 million a season on the table, but I'm making it. And you laid out a lot of the different scenarios here, Charlie. Like in terms of like best case and worst case.
Yeah, this is like in the end of the piece when I really break it all down. So my projection in terms of what he would cost, and I give a range because obviously a lot of this just comes down to negotiations. How much you're willing to give him bonuses, no trade clause versus no trade clause, and a lot of this is very negotiable based on that. But based on where he's at the moment, if he were to sign a contract right now, I would project him to finish to get a cap hit between, and I'm assuming a long-term deal. Obviously, if he signs a 2-year deal, it's a completely different ballgame. Yeah. I'm assuming a 6 years, 7 years, even 8-year long deal. The range I would expect for a deal like that, if it were to be signed tomorrow, would be somewhere between $7 million and like the high 8s. So like 8.7 was the cutoff point I gave based on the comparables I looked at. That would be signing a deal now. And I think not everyone, but most fans would be pretty happy with that range, anything in that range. But then you start to get into like, well, what if you wait? And if you wait and he keeps scoring at a point per game pace, then suddenly we're talking about, going back to the comp thing. He signs that contract after 54 games and he's still on a point per game pace. Now I'm more looking at his comps being in that 9 to 10 mil range. That's a significant jump. You wait until the full end of the season, and he finishes the season with 85 to 90 points and played in all 82 games, didn't get hurt. Suddenly, like his comps, in my mind, his best comps are guys like Matt Barzal and Timo Meier, and in adjusted cap range, they got in the mid-10s for a cap hit in terms of like the percentage of the cap ceiling. That's a risk. On the flip side of it, though, let's say he regresses a little bit, then it's not that big of a deal. Let's say he regresses back to scoring at the rate he scored in his first 2 full seasons. Then we're talking about, you're paying a little bit more. I would put that range somewhere in like the 8 to 10 range. If he regresses, but still stays a very productive player, then you're in the range of, well, maybe you do wait. Maybe you wait and you're like, we'll pay the extra $1.5 million a year for the added clarity and certainty. So to me, the decision of whether you absolutely have to sign him now versus wait. If you think he's going to stay point per game the rest of the year, race to get him signed now, because you better get him signed before he's going to cost you maybe $11 million. But if you think he's legit, if you think this is real and you want to sign him, because obviously you're only going to sign him if you think this is real. If you think he's the guy from the last 2 years, maybe you're not even going to qualify him. So if you're signing him, you're signing because you think he is legitimately at least the guy from the first 2 seasons. If you're going to do that, but you think the regression is coming, and I think there is reason to believe it could be coming, at least to the degree of like going back to being a 65-point-a-year guy. If you think it's coming, maybe it's not the worst thing to wait, because then you get more clarity on, can he stay healthy? Is he a center versus a wing? Is he just going to keep this up, or is he just going to fall off a cliff? Because, hey, he wouldn't be the first guy to have a great first 15 games and then completely collapse as the style of play changes, teams get more tightened up defensively. So if you want that added clarity, maybe it's not the worst thing if instead of giving him 7 by 7.5 or 7 by 8, you're giving him 7x9, but you just feel more comfortable that you're making the right decision.
Yeah, that's typically I like when they take the risk, get the guy done. Maybe not like in the middle of a hot streak like they did with Owen Tippett. Maybe that's like, not the best timing. But even then, like, it's probably fine. But with this player specifically, I think I'd rather have a little bit more clarity.
Okay.
Maybe not wait till July 1st. Like, maybe not wait all the way till someone can, like, submit an offer sheet.
Yeah, that would seem to be playing with fire.
Yeah, and I don't think they would lose him to an offer sheet. And we always talk about offer sheets, and then they never, ever happen unless, like, one GM's buddy gets fired from another job, so he wants to stick it to the guy who replaced him, so he submits 2.
And I do think the Zegras' league-wide reputation of like not being a guy you win with probably lowers the chances of a team giving him an offer sheet. But I do think it's still possible.
No, and like
can't
that's
be ruled out.
The 200 hockey men kind of being like, yeah, he's not our guy. Well, 32 of those hockey men run teams. So, or at least 31.
And also,
is Danny Briere in the club yet?
He's
play.
He's definitely in the club.
He did play.
What's your GM? I mean, even Eric Tulsky's in the club now. He's a general manager.
He's
a
in the
hockey
club?
Man. Yeah. He might be like a grudging inductee into the club, but he's in the club.
Yeah, he's like...
Because once you're a general manager, you never don't have a job in the game.
That's fair.
Like, look at Chuck Fletcher. Like, you can always get a job once you've got the GM job, because then people are just hiring you because it's like, oh, he was a GM. He can help us out. He can help us out.
He knows, like, the phone number. Like, he knows all the stuff about the league office.
He knows all the agents. He knows everybody in the game. He's got to stay in the game.
He can do something.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's it. Okay. We've narrowed that down. All right. I do want to talk a little bit more about Zegras, but first, let's take our next commercial. Now more than ever, Xfinity is the ultimate sports destination. There's never any lagging. There's never any buffering. There's no switching between a million different apps, trying to hang an antenna, figure out a bunch of stuff like it's 1975. If you're a big fan, you gotta have Xfinity. With Xfinity, the way you watch is next level. It's the perfect fan flex. From the 4K enhanced picture and sound that's so clear, feels like you're in the arena, to the multi-view. That's right, watch up to 4 games at once with multi-view, all of it. It adds up to the ultimate fan viewing experience. And on top of all that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your television, so you can keep up on all your parlays and fantasy teams. So next game day, make sure you are that big fan and not a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box. And now I have to tell you about Cherry Hill Jeep, because if you're looking for a Jeep or Ram truck, there's only one dealership in South Jersey who has been the market leader since 1967. As long as we've had a team on the ice in this town, that's how long they have been the market leader. You can slide into a 2025 Jeep Wrangler this month for $289 a month. Every Wrangler delivers strong drivetrains, innovative engineering, and quality components that underpin this icon's legendary heritage. Or you can pull away in the most luxurious and functional SUV, the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, also included in the True Zero offer. So stop in today, tell them PHLY sent you, and receive a $1,000 off any new car and an additional $2,000 for your trade-in. I know people buy Jeeps and Ram trucks elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep or Ram truck today, just minutes from all bridges. We're available online 24/7 at cherryhilljeep.com.
All right, so here's why I want to get into, and I hate to be not the bearer of bad news, but I feel like I'm throwing a little cold water on the Zegras stuff, because I'm saying that there is a very realistic chance that his production dips a bit.
Okay.
And here is my explanation as to why. I say this in the piece, I think it is very likely that his 5-on-5 play is completely legitimate and stays exactly the way it is. Like, looking at his numbers from this season compared to where they were in his first 2 years, his really good years, they're pretty much identical. I mean, there's no gigantic secondary assist leap that makes you think like, yeah, well, once that regresses, he's not going to be producing as much. He's just setting up a lot of goals with his primary assist. And like, we watch him. He's a great playmaker.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, like his points per 60 is 2.24, which is legitimate first line level, but it's not like bonkers through the roof like McDavid level where you're like, He's good, but he's not that good.
Yeah, since he's not McDavid, he probably won't
probably
continue producing at
there's
this level.
nothing about his 5-on-5 production that makes me think that like he can't sustain this. The power play production, though, so he has 8 power play points. He's got 16 points in total. 8 of them are on the power play. If you expand that out for an entire season, that pace, that would give Trevor Zegras 44 power play points. Last season, Nikita Kucherov led the league in power play points. This is power play wizard, like God is the perfect power play player of all time. 46 power play points.
Also has Braden Point and Victor Hedman.
And has a much better support system in Tampa in terms of that power play. If you think that Zegras is going to finish with 44 power play points, which is 2 fewer than what league-leading Nikita Kucherov finished with last year, I would say you're probably being a little optimistic. Now, is it possible that Trevor Zegras is
that good on
emerging as one of the best power play players that can carry a power play to dominance on his own? Then, yeah,
perhaps.
Maybe he could be.
It's on the table,
I guess. It just seems unlikely, and it especially seems unlikely because even in those great years that he had, well, let's not say great, let's say very good years that he had in Anaheim.
Promising years that led us to believe he would one day be a star.
Right. He was around a 5 point per game or point per 60 pace, 5.00. He was at 5.18 his first year. He was at 4.46 his second year. So the average is around 5 points per 60. This year, on the power play. This year he's at 11.
So double.
So did he get twice as good from where he was those first years in the power play? I guess it's possible, but it's not something I would necessarily be willing to bet on. And if I'm right that regression is coming there, the point pace is going to dip a bit.
Now, what I will say is, and I would tend to agree with you, it's probably not 11 points per 60 that he's going to put up on the power play through an 82-game season, because that would be insane.
It would be awesome.
Don't we deserve it? Don't we deserve something like that happening to us? But what I will say is, while yes, Trevor Zegras is like, 65%, the best ever on the shootout with guys with 20 or more attempts, we've also seen him like improve in that. Like that includes maybe earlier in his career when he was just good and not amazing at it. Perhaps the power play is something he loves so much, like the shootout, that he just works on it nonstop and he becomes excellent. He becomes as good as Nikita Kucherov in this particular aspect, not overall. Again, sure, maybe he is as good as Nikita. It took Nikita Kucherov several years to become the guy we're like, oh yeah, 120 points, put it in the bank. And
You're not wrong.
We'll see where he goes from there. Maybe. I'm just saying in this one particular aspect of his game, maybe it does become elite. It's not off the table.
It's not off the table. I honestly, if anything, I'm more open to the possibility that Zegras could and will at some point be an elite power play producer than I am to the possibility that, and like, look, I want to make this clear. I am not saying this to denigrate guys like Noah Cates and Bobby Brink, but like Noah Cates and Bobby Brink are the other guys on his power play. Like Nikita Kucherov, as you said, has Braden Point, had Steven Stamkos for years, like, big Victor Hedman, Sergachev, like so many really, really, really other elite players. And as much as I really like what I've seen from Noah Cates and Bobby Brink, it seems unlikely that Trevor Zegras will be able to generate 44 points on a power play unit with those guys, even on a power play unit with guys like Sean Couturier and Travis Konechny. Like Matvei Michkov is the only other guy on this team where I'm like, yeah, okay. Pure talent-wise, you can make a case that he is or someday will be on those guys' level, but it's not a power play of all-stars the way Tampa is, and I just think it's unlikely that Zegras will be able to replicate Kucherov-level production without the support system that Kucherov has.
So Charlie O'Connor is now in charge of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Scary stuff.
What's it gonna get?
Putting the nerd in charge? Did he even play the game?
What are we
doing here?
Is it gonna get worse, Charlie? Honestly, Charlie O'Connor now in charge of the Philadelphia Flyers. How do you attack the Trevor Zegras contract situation?
I think the way I attack it is I seriously open negotiations. Now, if I can get him at something like 7.5 or 8, I probably do it. If his camp is holding at 9, like, high 8s, low 9s, then I probably say like, all right, well, if that's what you want, I'd rather just wait.
Yeah.
Because
you're going to get that anyway.
You're going to get that anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think if he's willing to talk in the 7s or even the low 8s, then I'm down to do a deal. But if he's if his camp is like, nah, he's worth 9.5, then it's like, well, I'll just wait because I think your production is going to regress anyway, and when it does, that's what we're ultimately going to have to pay anyway. Yeah. So why not just wait until January?
It's like this is in terms of like getting him at a rate. And listen, sometimes you have to pay big money for great players, and that's cool.
Sure.
But just in terms of like cap wise, if that's the worst case scenario anyway, then why rush it?
Right.
Like, all right, then we have to pay you a little more, and you're awesome, and you proved it. Why take the gamble now if that's what's going to be in a couple months anyway?
Yeah. That would be how I would take it, and we'll see how the Flyers take it. According to Elliot Friedman, they're talking, and I don't think Elliot Friedman just pulls stuff out of his butt.
Having very little math ability, I think. Just listen, you all know. Just in my head, if it's 8 to 8.5, I'm signing. Like, I'm cool with that. But if we are getting into that 8.9, 9, 9.5, yeah, let me see you get through the season healthy.
Exactly.
Let me see you get through the season healthy, and then we'll talk.
Yeah. All right. And also, you know what I'd like to see, William?
Hit that like button.
We're at 98 likes. I know we have easily over 200 viewers watching live. We should be not only able to blow past 100, we should be able to get to 150, no problem.
I see. Before we go to break, I just want to point out Tony Escargot says Chuck No Puck.
Oh, yeah, didn't he make like a shirt?
Did you see the shirt yet?
I did see the shirt.
Okay, yeah.
Finally. I didn't see it at first, but I think I saw it this morning.
Okay, yeah.
It's amusing.
It's your cartoon head, the one we use here.
Chuck No
and
Puck.
It just says Chuck No Puck.
Chuck No Puck.
All right. Let us, I have no segue now. Let's just go to the next break. I love it. Brenna takes back over, and I'm just throwing stuff at her. Whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx online casino app. They have such a great selection of different online slots. We're talking Huff and More Puff, slots based on your favorite streaming shows like Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, nostalgic favorites like The Goonies, and all of your casino classics. We're talking blackjack, we're talking roulette, craps, poker, baccarat. So many ways to win at the Parx Online Casino. And right now is the time to get in because new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. All you got to do is go to betparx.com, download the app, and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And now it's time to tell you about our friends at Bucci Jewelers, because we all know the feeling. You walk into a jewelry store, you're trying to pick something out for your partner, and suddenly you realize you are in over your head. You're thinking, what's the difference between all these diamonds? What if she doesn't like it? Color cut? I don't know what any of this means. It's stressful. You're about to spend a lot of money, and you don't really know what you're spending it on. And that's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design has been such a game changer. These guys make the whole process seamless. From the minute you walk in, they treat you like family because they actually listen and they help you figure out what your partner is going to love. And then their team designs something completely custom right there in-house. There's no pressure, no pushy sales vibe, just good people who love what they do. And the end result, it's something you're proud to give and they'll never forget. So next time you need that perfect piece, go see Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design. 30 plus years in the game, voted Philly's #1 jeweler year after year. Over 1,000 five-star reviews speak for themselves. Check them out today at BucciJewelers.com and tell them PHLY sent you. All right, Chuck, I feel like we've covered Trevor Zegras pretty well to this point.
I think so. I think we did a good job of rounding it out with you asking me what I would do.
Yeah. All right.
I am clearly not Danny Briere. Now we get to see what Danny Briere does. That's the fun of it.
Does. Yeah. Maybe he listens. Who knows?
I don't think so.
Seems
unlikely.
I gotta believe he's got something better to do.
I would think, right?
I don't know. We know that people in the organization listen. It would surprise me if the very tippy top listens.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
All right. Just a couple odds and ends before. How many super chats do we have, Bryn? All right, so a couple odds and ends before we get to super chats.
Okay.
Something I've been meaning to talk about for a while. I've brought it up here and there, but it actually came up to Tocchet the other day. I can't remember if you asked the question or someone else. The fourth line.
Oh, yeah, I think I did ask this question.
I think it was you.
Yeah, I believe I did ask
this question. It was
question.
Sunday. I have no memory. They've been scored on quite a bit, and the alarming thing is, all right, you're going to give up some goals as a fourth line. They've scored 0.
They're doing the UC Stars.
Yeah.
No goals.
No goals.
No goals.
They have scored 0 goals. The only guy in the regular fourth line rotation with any points at all is Nikita Grabenkin. All 3 of them have come away.
When he's not on the fourth line.
When he's not out there with those guys. The rest of them have combined for 0 points. What did you take away from Tocchet's kind of comments about, like, you kind of just want the fourth line to be even? And yeah, they're not, though.
That would be great.
Yeah,
I would love it if they were even.
They're not.
I think the weird part about it, because, like, it would be one thing if they were rolling with, like, Delorier every game, and then you've got, like, Carson Dorward, who's a rookie, who's barely seen any time, and then you've got, I don't know, like, some dude they picked up off the scrap heap on the right side. But, like, Garnet Hathaway has an established track record of being an above-average fourth liner.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Abels, in fairness, is not a young guy, but he is someone who's still trying to establish himself as an NHL regular. And then Nikita Grabenkin, we all agree, has been impressive, even in his minutes in the fourth line. So, like, you look at the personnel, and you think they really should be doing better. They just haven't been. Now, Tocchet did note that he thought one of the problems is, like, they haven't been getting regular ice time because of all the penalties, which we've talked about. They are taking a lot of penalties, but they're still getting scored on.
Yeah.
So you just, on some level, it's kind of just like, play better, guys.
That's my, like, I guess main question here is, like, I posed this on Twitter, and it was like, make some trades. You know, I think we did that mini pod. We did that episode of the Shootout where we talked about the fourth line, and it was, is there an in-house solution, or, like, is there someone they can call up? And we got a bunch of replies to the tweet promoting it that were like, just make some trades and make the fourth line better. But we know that's probably not what Danny Briere is going to do. And honestly, trades in November are rare.
Yeah.
But, like, in-house solution-wise, is it just, yeah, listen, it might be Grabenkin on the left wing. It might be Delorier. It might be Carl Grundstrom. Who knows? But Abels and Hathaway just have to play better? Like, that's what it comes down to with this fourth line?
Honestly, maybe. And the thing with Abels is, I don't know if he can. Like, I
no idea.
I liked what I saw from him in camp and preseason, to be sure, but I don't know. Maybe he's just not an NHL player. He's still trying to prove that. I know that Garnet Hathaway is, and while Hathaway's done a great job of stirring up crap. Like, he's been Hathaway in that way, and it's been fun to watch. But he can play a lot better in terms of the actual hockey than he's done so far this year. And he's the guy I'm looking to more than anyone else. He's the guy I'm looking to carry this line, because he does have a track record of driving play in a fourth line role, and the fourth line to this point has kind of gotten obliterated, and I just feel like he can do a better job. And this isn't me dumping on him. It's more like, I know Garnet Hathaway can play better because I've seen it, and he hasn't been, and I want to see him play better.
Like, yes, no one is paying Garnet Hathaway to score. Since he became an NHL regular, 19 points, 16, 18, 26, 22, 17. Last year he had 21. But, like, he's got double-digit goals in, like, 4 of the last 5 seasons, you know?
Yeah.
He's got 0.
As a fourth liner, when you're not getting that many minutes, that's pretty good.
No, he's averaging at most, like, 13 minutes a night during this time span. It's not as if he's ever gotten regular top 9 shifts or anything. Like, this is his role. He has scored more in it in the past.
Yeah.
And you got to believe that'll come around to some extent, but the other 2 guys are big question marks.
Sure.
Now, I think Nikita Grabenkin has more in him, and I
think we all do.
As he earns the coach's trust, though, like, won't he be in the top 9? Maybe, maybe not, I guess.
There just might not be room.
There might not be room for him, so then you have potentially a top 9 winger on your fourth line, and then it's who's the center. I thought we'd see a little bit more after, I guess, because he had to rotate with Luchenko. Now it's, let's give Abels a fair run, but I'm all for a little more. We talked a lot in camp about how there was going to be competition. Maybe Abels did give himself enough runway here, because he was like one of their best players in camp, quite honestly, and in the preseason, one of their standouts. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind seeing Carson Dorward or somebody.
Yeah, in all honesty, I'm with you. Like, because Dorward's a guy where if he's going to make it as an NHLer, it's going to be as it's going to be as a bottom 6 center. So if he's playing well enough in the AHL and Abels isn't staking a claim for that spot to be his, sure, I'm cool to bring a guy up and let him have a shot. And same thing with Grundstrom. Like, you know, I'm not saying put him in place of Hathaway, but I don't know. Maybe for a game, you give Grundstrom, because Grundstrom played last game on the third line. Yeah. He was on the Cates line. It wasn't really a fourth line role, but he is primarily a fourth liner. And while he has never been able to score very well at the NHL level, he has been able to drive play. And at this point, all I'm really looking for from the fourth line is don't get killed. Maybe Grundstrom can help in a rotation, help them not get killed, not get it crushed. Because it's not just that they're giving up goals. It's that they're getting crushed by underlying metrics too. They're getting outshot. They're getting outchanced. Like Garnet Hathaway, for the last 3 seasons, has graded out well above positive in terms of his impact on expected goals at even strength. This year, he is minus 0.182, which I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but my guess is that's probably around the 15 to 20th percentile in terms of NHL forwards. That's not a range that he usually is in. He needs to get better, and maybe they need to start moving some pieces in and out. I'm not saying trade guys. I'm saying sit some guys. Give Grundstrom a look. Give Dorwart a look until they find a combination that isn't getting killed on a nightly basis. I will say I thought the fourth line was pretty good on Saturday, though they gave some good shifts. Hopefully that's the start of something.
My one concern, because the one established NHLer on that line is Garnet Hathaway, turns 34 in a couple of weeks. The way he plays, you do start to see aging at some point.
Okay. But I haven't seen.
Stuff he does is all there still.
It's kind of remember how there was a point in the first half of last year where was it the first half of last year? The year where Lawton's underlying numbers just out of nowhere were trash.
Oh yeah, tanked.
They were trash, and understandably, people, especially of the statistically inclined variety, were like, "Oh God, Lawton's falling off a cliff. The aging curve's hitting him hard." And I'm like, maybe, but I watch him, and it's not like his mistakes are physical related. He's making dumb decisions, but to me, I don't think he's getting stupider. I just think he's playing poorly. I just think he's playing poorly.
All right,
and I kind of think it's the same thing with Hathaway.
We don't have time to do the Tocchet on Tippett video today. Maybe we'll play it pregame tomorrow or something. But do you remember who asked the question about Tippett today? Was it Kevin? I couldn't tell.
I do not remember off the top of my head. It might have been Jordan.
Might have been Jordan. Okay. So, all right. No, I wouldn't say this about Jordan, but my question, I thought it just all the talk about the stuff, Tocchet is constant. And Tocchet even said it, because there's a little bit of a language barrier, the only time anyone goes up to him is to tell him what he's doing wrong.
Right.
And because everyone wants to know about Michkov, he gets so many questions asked about him, and so many people's complaints are how come nobody ever says the stuff about Owen Tippett? And somebody today asked that question about Owen Tippett.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, it's been 9 games and he hasn't scored and he doesn't do a ton of other stuff. And Tocchet's yeah, he does need to do more stuff when he's not scoring. But maybe we'll get into it tomorrow. I just thought it was funny because it was hey, someone finally did ask, so he answered, and it wasn't he protected Owen Tippett any more than he does anyone else. So finally that happened.
Yeah.
All right, but let's get to Super Chats. All right, lead it off with DA Flyers, man.
Oh, God.
Has Michkov demanded a trade yet? Yeah,
not as far as I know.
He demanded someone else's pudding cup for a bag of chips in the lunchroom today. Oh, man, I love snack bags. All right, I'm freaking starving. From JH, Twitter is an unmitigated hellscape.
It's seen better days.
It's not what it once was, as we can say about many aspects of American life.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Maybe a couple times a year, Twitter just needs to explode in upon itself, and then in the aftermath, people can calm down.
Did you ever?
It's you need a crash out. Isn't that a new Gen Z thing?
All right. Did you ever read or see Ready Player One?
I have not done either.
There's once they take over the Oasis and win, they defeat the online world, and now they're in charge. They turned it off every Thursday. What if Twitter just turned off once a week? I feel like everyone would be better off. It was just, once a week, it's over. All right, and with that, we go to overtime. Go to allphly.com to keep watching. Just turn it off.
Just take a break. Just touch grass.
It's over for a day.
You gotta touch grass
All right,
sometimes.
from Tony Escargot. I can't wait to see what this says. Chuck and Bill, Tony Escargot here. As veterans of Puck, I wanted to thank you for your service. May the gods of Puck shine down on you and bless thee with bountiful fruits. Love, Tony Escargot.
Now we're doing prayers here.
I very much appreciate it.
I feel like I'm back in
Tony.
Catholic school.
I very much appreciate it. I am glad you have joined us once again. From Dorsal, already did the math, fam. 5 times 9.204600. Total money 46 mil.
He's going the Sidney Crosby way.
The Crosby. Everyone has to get there. Why couldn't Crosby have been born in December? Like, if his birthday is December 14th, the Penguins never win a cup.
It would be funny if like Zegras'
Or he goes 1.2.
It would be funny if Zegras' contract is ultimately like something by 8.46 or 7.46.
Yeah.
That'd be very funny.
Yeah. All right. Next one here from Justin Cicchini. Bill and Charlie, if you're the GM of the Flyers and you have Michkov and Martone on the same line, who is the center that you're getting for them? Is it Jet? I would love Robert Thomas.
It's interesting that he mentions Robert Thomas because I feel like this has come up in our Discord a lot. The people who are trying to optimistically project Jet Luchenko, where they're like, well, what if Jet Luchenko is everything the organization hopes he's going to be? What are some comps? And the comp that gets brought up a lot is Robert Thomas, because Robert Thomas also didn't score at elite levels at the junior level and then kind of broke out later. And I think that's the hope that people have for Jet, that like he'll live up to his lofty draft position and won't have people bringing up Zeev Buium every time his name is brought up.
That'd be nice.
It's an interesting question, though. I mean, Thomas is a good player, and I don't think it's like out of the complete and total realm of possibility he could become available. The Blues are kind of a dumpster fire right now. Like Jordan Binnington can't stop a puck. It's a good question. Do you have any ideas?
I would really love this internal solution to come via Jack Nesbitt or Jet Luchenko. But if those two are my first liners, I don't know. Robert Thomas would be a nice addition. Like, yeah, the Blues do stink, but it feels like I don't think Armstrong's going to blow that thing up and then just be like, here you go, Steen. Your problem now.
That would be fine.
Like, I don't think that's what's going to happen. So I'm just hoping Jack Nesbitt's awesome. Like, that's the hope.
I will say I like the idea of Jet as an archetype, because in between Michkov and Martone, I would like to have a guy with plus speed.
Yeah, someone's got to get in on the forecheck.
I would like to have a guy with plus speed, and Jet obviously has speed. I just don't know if Luchenko is going to develop enough offensive ability that you want him between those guys. But maybe he could be the do all the little things speed guy and let them do all the cool offense.
That's if those two are as good as advertised. Maybe you don't need superstar center between them.
Maybe.
All right. Next one here from 207 Steel says, one option not discussed, read Trevor Zegras. If he has a big year and his ask is too high, like the 2 times 12 or 13 range, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you let him go to the RFA market and hope someone overpays? 2 unprotected firsts are gold.
I just feel like this is when you're getting into the Family Guy, like, well, it could be anything. It could even be a boat. Like, the 2 unprotected first-round picks could be anything. They could even be Trevor Zegras. Like, I don't know. I'd probably rather keep the guy who is having a great year in my system and is very popular already in the room.
I don't know Trevor Zegras. Have never spoken to him. I will say, based on his rhetoric once he arrived here, the things he said to Wish, everything everyone has said about him since he's got here, there was just so much tumult during his, especially those 2 bad years in Anaheim, that he would be looking to settle. Not settle in terms of contract, but just like, I just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I just want to be somewhere and have it done with. And that's when you're talking about the clauses and stuff. That's what got me thinking, like, I would go all in maybe on like no trade, no moves if that lowered the number, because he wants that conversation over and done with. Like, you know, a couple of stories come out about Bryce Harper, like maybe they should trade him, and suddenly he's pissed off because he's like, I did everything I could to just end this nonsense.
Yeah.
It's all I heard about in Washington, and now it's coming back. I have maybe like, if he wants that very settled feeling, it's no move, no trade, full 8 years. What kind of discount are you going to give us? I'd be very much willing to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And the other thing that I thought of when you were talking about, when we're talking about offer sheets, and this is something that I think and I'm not singling out fans, like we could do it too. We all sometimes forget that like the guy has to actually want to sign an offer sheet. And if Zegras is real happy here, even if the Flyers are in a tough negotiation with him, I don't know if he would sign an offer sheet with another team because he might not want to leave Philly. He might not want to leave his buds.
We have heard varying stories about like, yeah, man, actually there are way more offer sheets. Not way more, but
more than you would
more than you think. And dudes are just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, like I don't want to leave.
Because there have been stories of, I think it was when Sakic signed the offer sheet and then he's back in the locker room. And like, we're talking about Joe Sakic, superstar. The boys are like, so you're trying to leave, huh? Like, there is a little bit of that. More guys understand now it's a business and you get the best deal you can, but hockey is still that game where it's, oh, you think you're bigger than this? It's like, well, the Flyers logo, yeah, you guys stink. Yeah. I do.
And you like, you wonder, too, with Zegras, because he has that, like, it's very clear that he's going into the season trying to change people's perceptions of him. And you just wonder, like, is he going to be willing to like do that? Like, well, I'm just going to go for as much money as possible. Maybe he's going to look at it as like, well, is it really that big of a deal if I take, $400,000 a year less than I think I'm worth just to have people not be like, oh, all he cares about is money and clicks.
Yeah. And like we saw it. One of the big sticking points at one point was with Pat Verbeek.
Yeah.
Like there was a negotiation in there. Both he and Drysdale missed the beginning of camp. And that's kind of the impetus for everything, really, the falling out there. All right,
Didn't help.
Next one here is David Shubb. Hath drank too much of his Dogfish Head Pro model.
I still have to try that.
I've heard it was, someone actually just told me the other day it was really good. I haven't had it.
I have to
yet.
try it at some point. Yeah, I haven't had a chance.
Another one here from David says, tip on the hot seat. Y'all see Lotz get crushed. That hit was bad.
I did see. Did he get like legitimately hurt on that hit?
It looks like he's injured.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
And Tippett, like one thing that I will say about the Tippett situation is Friedman in particular has been adamant that Tippett is not on the trade market, that he's asked around and no one has been like, yeah, we're talking. Like, so I don't think Tippett is like in the midst of being moved. It's just that he's struggling. He's on the hot seat in that like, hey, gotta play better, dude.
Be nice. All right, from JH says,
oh God.
What's that? Hail Charlie, full of puck, Bill is with thee. Blessed art thou, beat writers, and blessed is the fruit of South Philly. Gritty something, amen.
Incredible.
That's good stuff.
Now I really feel like I'm back in
and
Catholic grade school.
Now, finally, from Adam S. to close it out, it says, I miss Risto. Who would have thunk it? We all kind of miss Risto, I think.
Defense would be significantly better if Risto was in place of Noah Juleson. I think that's fair.
It would be.
I'd like to see an Andre-Risto pairing.
I would like to see that as well, because I want to see more Emile Andre, and it doesn't feel like if it's him and Juleson, they're going to get any sort of runway. So maybe he'll be back soon. Who's to say?
We'll see.
And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button. And good job. Got us near 150. Get it to 200, though, by the time I get home. It's going to take me about half an hour. You got some time, but let's go. All right. Make sure you're following us on all the socials. We're at PHLY_Flyers on Twitter. And follow the podcast. Just search PHLY Flyers. That's it for us. I am Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. Thank you to Brenna. Be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.